Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Mystic in Training podcast with me, your host, Melissa Amos. I want to talk today about what happens when everything is going wrong. You know, those days, those weeks, those months, and God forbid, those years where it just feels like everything that's happening is turning to mush. That you turn one way and this doesn't work, and then you turn another one and this has broken. Your internet stopped working, and then the files have stopped syncing, and then the friends cancel on the date, and then the parcel comes in 4 days too late and you can't send it back, and it just feels like, oh my God. And what do we do in those moments? What is actually happening from an energetic level? And how on earth do we pull ourselves out of this funk? Because what I've noticed is this, that when those moments are happening, it's really easy to fall into the universe hates me. Why do all these big questions we ask ourselves? Why do all these bad things happen to me? What else is going to go wrong? Oh my God, what next? How on earth am I going to cope? And it's like all of a sudden, when life is going bad, we forget that we have this universal system that is constantly speaking to us. Or even worse, we can go into blame or shame or guilt or anger or frustration into how the world seems to be serving up. But if we really come back into how am I responding and how am I reacting to this? Do I really believe that the universe has my back in this moment? Do I really believe that the universe hates me and karma is coming for something that I might have done many lifetimes ago and is now coming and repaying that debt that I may have unwittingly created? And what is actually going on in our brain? Because every time we ask the question, what else is going to happen now? What else could go wrong? What have I done to deserve this? Our energy body, our neurology, our Akashic records, our whole guidance system, remember, it's not judging anything. It's not going, oh, well, she needs this. It's going, okay, she's asking a question. Let's deliver her the answers. What else could go wrong? Well, here is the plethora of things that can go wrong. You think it's bad that your internet stopped working? Well, now we are going to help the computer stop working because it is responding to literally what you're asking of it. It's less about responding to the bad things that you've done, because that is assuming back to this assumption that we're broken and that God is vengeful. And I don't believe that to be true. What if it's actually just responding to those questions? That your brain, when you ask it anything, its only job is to deliver you the answer. So, what if, when things go wrong, rather than spiral into what we usually do, our programmings and our conditions, the way that we view the world of, well, the universe is responding to me, so it must be my fault, and just stop and just take the domino out and start asking a different question. In fact, a friend of mine just messaged me about all of the things that are seemingly going wrong in her world at the moment. And this is what sparked this conversation, because the answer that I gave her was simply this: change the question. Ask yourself, how does life get better than this? Because guess what happens? When you're asking, what could go wrong here? You're going to be delivered everything that can go wrong here. We flip it and we ask, how does life get better than this? And then our brain, our neurology, and our Akashic records and the universe starts to remind us of all of the ways that things can get better. What if it's that simple? Now, please don't hear this and think that, well, as things go wrong, it's your fault. And as things go wrong, it's because of the mind monkeys that are going around in your head. And every time you have a negative thought, the universe is like, bam, here we go. Because it doesn't work like that. Like if I said to you, think of an orange penguin, the orange penguin is very unlikely to just come and like bonk you on the head in that moment, because in this time we do have a time lag. Things don't happen so instantaneously, and we can use this to our advantage, because what's happening is it's the dominant frequency that is actually pulling in the experience. And from what I have learned through not just my work as an intuitive, but also through my work as a psychotherapist, it boils down to the questions that we ask ourselves. And the questions that we ask ourselves boil down to the fundamental belief that we have in the world. And I'm seeing time and time again, especially how as the law of attraction becomes more dominant in the space and philosophies about manifestation come more into the mainstream, that it can be very easy to think, well, my thoughts create my reality and therefore I need to change my thoughts. It's actually easier to change the questions. If you imagine this from an Akashic Records point of view, whenever you ask a question, you can imagine that there is a guide, a librarian, if you like, there that's going, oh, it's like AI. Oh my God. It's like going into chat and going, tell me all the things that can go wrong. What's it going to do? It's going to tell you all the things that will go wrong. You ask it to find the positives, what's it going to do? It's going to deliver you exactly that. And your Akashic records work very similarly. You have this guardian, this guide, this librarian, if you like, that is in real time pulling up the answers. And our physiology and our neurology all stack to help that. Our emotions come from that. We have a negative thought and it brings up these feelings that don't feel good. And when we're feeling that way, then that is going to change our actions. I think it's now that we begin to start, well, what is it? How am I using this? How am I using this knowledge? Because when things are going wrong, I don't believe it's the universe serving up a pile of poop for you, but there's something there. If we're coming back with my philosophy that everything is an invitation, if we can just stop for a moment and go, okay, it seems to me right now that the universe is turning to crap and everything is working against me right now. If there was an invitation, what would it be? This is a great question. If there was an invitation, what would it be? Maybe it's asking you to slow down. Maybe it's asking you to just turn off the computer for a bit and to get a pen and paper and to write in that way, or to go for a walk. Maybe it's a reminder for you that your energy body has been soaking up all of the EMF signals and you need to go and ground in the forest for a little while. Maybe it's a response to how much pressure you've been putting on and how much you've been expecting something that's formed from a past pattern or a past behavior. That, for example, my friends always let me down, or, when things go right, then things always go wrong. And these are all responses, these are all invitations, these are all offerings to you to go, okay, if I was looking at this from a higher point of view, if I was my higher self and my higher guidance, and I was looking at this from a place of neutrality, what would it be teaching me? And this is really when we get into the gift of the situation. This is really when we begin to understand that we are empowered beings and we are not victim to the universe. Is it going to miraculously change overnight? Maybe. But that's not entirely the point. This isn't, well, think good thoughts and therefore no bad things will ever happen. This is, we are living in the real world. We are living in your real world. And if that is true, if our thoughts do create our reality, then what is our reality showing us about our thoughts? And what is the invitation to change, to grow, to evolve? Not because it is broken. Nothing's broken. It might not be working in the way that you think you want, but if it's working in a certain way, there's something there, there's a clue. And you know, when we feel bad about something, when there's something that is causing a stress or upset or anger, it's showing that there's a gap between what it is that you want and where it is that you are. And that's why it feels bad. And so it all boils down to, do I feel empowered about the world and the life that I'm living? Or do I feel victim to what life throws at me? And I will say this, it is a dance. I don't think it's as black and white as, well, if you have the cleanest minds, then nothing ever will happen, because there's other factors at play. When I'm talking about the big things, there is karma, there are contracts, there are life lessons, there are all of these things moving on, because as humans, we are meant to evolve. As humans, we are meant to move through challenges. I've certainly been there when I've been, for example, in a launch and my internet dies and I'm like, well, now what? Or when I feel like I've got so much going on and then I start panicking and I start to see these threads. But in hindsight, when I look back at those moments, they always taught me something. Maybe it was as simple as stop leaving things to the last minute, Melissa. Let's be a bit more prepared. Maybe it was reach out and ask for help and expertise. You don't need to do everything alone. Maybe it was just take a break. Maybe the answer came into something completely different. Maybe when the internet broke and I ended up going live half an hour later, that was when the ideal people came into my field, because they were all busy for whatever reason. But it comes down to that trust. How am I responding to it? Am I going to allow myself to fall in the spiral of stress, to fall in that spiral of, well, it's now going wrong, and so everything's going to go wrong? To start to notice the default questions that I'm asking myself, and to take the domino out and to go, okay, what's the lesson here? And this is the most powerful question you can ask yourself. How does life get better than this? Ask that. Start there. What else will go wrong? No. How can life get better than this? Just start there. Start there and promise me that you'll let me know. This really is where a journaling practice or having a mentor, somebody to speak to, can really help. And it's also really good to know, I'm going to say it, whether your friendship groups and your support system are there to kind of like meet you in that dwelling and agree with you and be like, yeah, life's really hard. Yeah, life sucks. And to really feed that and to kind of applause your victimhood, which we all want sympathy and empathy and support, of course. But what reality is that creating? Rather than, okay, I meet you where you are, I see you where you are, I understand this is hard. This is not about bypassing. This is not about going, oh yeah, life's hard, but everything's always working in my favor. It's acknowledging that. And that second question of, okay, if this was teaching me something, what would it be? What strength is this creating in me? Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's the worst timing for that to be cultivated. But just knowing that we are constantly on this path of evolution and growth. And that part of evolution and growth is discomfort. And that's okay. We can do hard things. We can get through discomfort. And where in your life are you supporting yourself to allow for yourself to move through discomfort? To yes, be supported, to yes, acknowledge where you are. You're not going to get anywhere if you just bypass it, because then the lesson's just going to keep coming. It's an invitation. I need to look at this now. I want to see where I am. I can feel that reality. This emotion is coming up in my system. Oh, look, there's that mind monkey that is telling me again and again and again just how bad I am, just how everybody hates me, just how everything goes wrong all of the time, just how life would be better off without me, or whatever it is that goes through the mind. And listening to that and going, okay, where's that come from? What's this teaching me? How do I move and evolve from this, not away from this? And please don't use it as evidence that there's no higher power or that your spirit guides are ignoring you. Because I will say this, how many of us use our spirit team and use our spirit guides and use our soul and use God, the divine, the universe, only when things are going wrong? How many times are we like, well, when things are going right, things are going right. I'm doing this, I'm rocking it at life. And then the moment things start going wrong and you're like, guides, help me out of this situation, then they become that poor old friend that you only ever call in a crisis. And then you're like, well, if there was a God, you would pull me out of this. And it's like, well, hold on a minute. What about all the times that things are working really well? You don't acknowledge me there. And it's another spiral that we can fall into. And I think it's an important conversation that we can have another time. But your spirit team are not the emergency services, and the universe isn't punishing you. Let's start asking better questions. Let's start acknowledging that the universe is always working with us. I think that's different from thinking it's always working for us. And then our job is then to build that trust, to build that resilience, to build that curiosity, to build that understanding and that knowing that my highest self, that my spirit team, that my Akashic records have all been curated and connected with enough that I know from the deepest level that everything is always working in my favor. Because when we come from that, we naturally start asking better questions. When we come from that, we naturally become more resilient. We naturally become more optimistic. And then maybe it is the case that less bad things happen. It's not avoiding it. I'd love to say think good thoughts and that's it. Your life would just be unicorns. But that isn't necessarily the point of humanity. But those kind of trivial things, those things that we let ourselves get on top of us, they do respond to how we feel. They do respond to our expectations. You know, when I was just in New York, we're going through security and we're going through, you know, all the plane journeys and all of these things. And I do trust. Yes, I need to play a part in this. I need to show up on time and I need to be organized. I need to make sure I have my passport. But I have this expectation and this knowing that it's going to be okay. I have this expectation and this knowing that I am divinely guided. And my friends reflected back to me like, why does it work for you like this? And I said to them, don't you notice when I'm here that things do tend to work more smoothly? And that's not because I'm special, maybe. And it's not because I'm magic and I do some like weird manipulation with the energies. It's how I speak to my guidance team, my universe, how I show up myself, the material and the physical procedures, organization, protocols that I put in for myself to set me up for success. Oh, I just realized it's 11:11. I just looked at the clock. But more than that, it's this knowing, this deep knowing that rather than, oh no, am I going to get this or is this going to happen? Are we going to get kind of cues? It's like we will move through at the perfect space and time. We will get through security at just the right time. The plane will leave exactly as it's meant to. The journey will be working for my highest good and the highest good of those connected to me. And so, for example, the night before I was traveling to New York and I knew I needed to be at the airport in the morning, and something said to me, just go up the night before, go and stay in a hotel. And it was niggling at me, and I could have ignored it and I could have said, oh, well, well, it's another day away from the family or whatever. But something told me that. And so I looked and I found this perfect hotel just nearby. And I was calm and I was organized and I got there all in good time, and I managed to spend like 3 hours or in the lounge just chilling in the perfect place. And I was centered, I was in my power, I was enjoying it. And that came from, I listened to my intuition, I listened to my guidance. It told me that this was the right thing to do, or this was the optimal thing to do. And I listened and I did that and I got there and everything went brilliantly. And so it is this dance. It's not a case of I'm going to force my brain to make good things happen, because again, that's coming from the wrong energetic alignment. That's coming from I'm going to micromanage the universe. It comes from being curious and asking the right questions and working with my guides, not just at the point where, oh my God, I'm sitting in traffic. Please get me there on time. Please manipulate all the traffic. Archangel Metatron, so that I'm there right on the right time. It's okay, what do I need to know? How does it get better than this? How is this journey the best journey that I've ever had? And I have to say, it was the best journey that I ever had. It was beautiful. What I've learned is it really is a dance between us and our higher guidance and our spirit team. It's not, I'm going to give you all of my authority and give you all of my sovereignty, and I'm going to expect you to sort this out for me. Just like it's not, when things do go wrong, well, it's all their fault or it's all my fault. It's a co-creation. It's knowing that guidance is there at all times. And I notice that when I stop treating guidance like something that I only call upon when I'm in trouble, and I've stopped treating the law of attraction as something that I only go to when I think something's going to go wrong, that I soften and my questions soften. And when my questions soften and become more open and curious and empowered, well, life begins to respond differently to me. This is the Akashic way. This is how we live life as a mystic in training. We know that we're here, that we are supported, and the questions that we choose to ask will be the catalyst to what answers the universe serves up for us. So, next time it feels like life is serving you in the opposite way of what you like, just stop. You breathe. You ask, how does life get better than this? Let life respond to you that way. And then move deeper. If there was an invitation here, if there was something that life was teaching me about how I think, about how I am, about my expectations, what would that be? And I'll see you next time.